Now, the CEO of the Commonwealth...
I'm okay with that.
Now, let's talk about the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank, Matt Comyn. He's in the news for two reasons. It's been announced that he took home $7 million in salary last financial year, and he has also announced that, quote, Australia's transition to a net zero emissions economy will require $2.5 trillion to $3 trillion of investment to 2050. This he compares to the investment in the mining boom of the decade to 2015. Now, Steven, is the fact that we can't see any similarity between destroying industries to reduce emissions and digging up minerals to sell at a profit overseas the reason why we're not pocketing $7 million a year?
Yeah, I think that might be the case. I mean, obviously, his shareholders think that he's worth $7 million a year, or somebody in between him and the shareholders does. But, I mean, that's just extraordinary. And I know that, we've got people that talk about us becoming a renewable energy superpower. Unless we're going to build a very, very long extension cord and plug it into Singapore or China or wherever we're going to send this renewable energy, I just think it's extraordinary to compare this religious ideology with selling a tangible product. It's just extraordinary to me.
Yeah, well, it is a religion to me too, Steven. Now, speaking of exorbitant amounts of money, new data from the tax office has revealed the richest suburbs in Canberra. Are there any surprises in there, Steven? And do public servants from the tax office predominate in any of these suburbs?
Yes, they definitely do. No, I don't really think there was any surprises in there as such, because the reality is that the Canberra demographic has changed drastically. And when you look at the property values here, you can't buy a detached home for less than $1 million. But the interesting thing to come out of some data that's just been released is that once upon a time we used to think of Canberra as a public service town. On the latest figures, 2/3 of people in Canberra don't work in the public service anymore. So there is a shift there. And I think the figure was something like 85 to 90% of that 2/3 work for small businesses. So, I think we might start to see some common sense creep into Canberra in the next few years.
What is driving that shift, Steven? Why the demographic change?
To be honest with you, I don't know. And I've got to say, it did catch me by surprise a little bit, particularly when you look at voting patterns and income patterns, et cetera, in Canberra. But I guess it's maybe the previous government had trimmed the public service a little bit, so it could shift back under this current government. I really don't know. It's something that I haven't really had a chance to look that deeply at yet, but it does intrigue me, I've got to say.
OK, let's talk about Victorian politics. We've seen another high-level resignation from the office of Matthew Guy, the Liberal MP who will lead his party into the election in Victoria in November. This time, it's his media director. Steven, does the coalition have any chance at the Victorian election, do you think?
I don't think so. I can't see a jurisdiction where the coalition has any chance at any nearby election. It's just absolutely... the parties, the Liberal Party particularly, has gutted itself. I mean, the Nationals seem to be holding firm a little bit in most cases, but the Victorian Liberal Party's modus operandi seems to be, let's try and out-left the left, and that doesn't work. I mean, we saw that in the federal election when, if you try to be more green than the Greens, you end up turning teal.